Welcome to Rock Solid, the Round Rock Business Leaders Podcast. Join your host, Bryan Eisenberg, as he explores the journeys of entrepreneurs and companies across Round Rock, Texas. From startups and nonprofits to large organizations, each guest shares their passion for doing business in this thriving community. Let's dive in.
Hi, everybody. I am here with Leasa Neaves, who has quite a significant and majestic background in Round Rock, specifically working with Dell, holding a lot of very important roles, both in different leadership roles in marketing and sales and chief of staff. Tell us a little bit about how you got to Round Rock, how you got to Dell, because it was early days.
It was early days. Yeah, actually, when I walked into the lobby of Dell for a job fair, I didn't actually know what Dell did, but I had sales background and I knew I could sell, and they were hiring sales reps. So I started at the lowest of the low in ISR 1B, and then I was there for 23 and a half years, and ended up, like you said, with a number of leadership roles. But it brought me to Round Rock. I had moved to Austin as part of a previous career move, and when I found Dell, or Dell found me, however you look at it, I also found Round Rock, and I've been here ever since.
What is it about Round Rock that's made you stick here? Like, I know you have a family and all of that, but what is it specifically about Round Rock that's so special?
Yeah, I mean, a lot of it has been around my children and raising children here. I think it's a great city to raise children. I mean, the schools are great. We see lots of things about how safe Round Rock is. It's close to Austin, so you get the benefits of being in Austin without some of the downsides of being in Austin. And also, I mean, Austin is important to us, right? It's an important part of our life, too. My daughter goes to the University of Texas, and we're big travelers. And so from Round Rock to the airport in Austin is easy peasy. So it's just a lot of things for us that have worked out really well.
I can relate. My daughter is a graduate of UT as well. And of course,
Nice.
UT recently just won the bowl game, which is
They
very
did.
exciting. And yeah, just dropped my son off at the airport to head to DC for the weekend. So
Fantastic.
there's another very important role that you've played. And I think, a lot of people don't know this, right? In all those years of developing leaders, there's a lot of women leaders that you've impacted in this area. So it's not just you, and because you've just started a new business that I want to go into,
Yes.
but just all of these other women leaders. And I don't know, coming from New York, I wouldn't think about Austin and Round Rock being the center for women leader development. So what is it, and can you explain some of the things you've done with some of these women and some of the careers
Sure.
that they've been able to create here?
Absolutely. Well, tech is a highly male-dominated industry, right? And so anywhere that you have tech, it doesn't matter if it's Austin or the Bay Area or anywhere else, you have a real need for developing women leaders because it's just not in the DNA of a lot of companies. And so, what really happened to me was I started getting involved with Dell's Women in Action ERG, Employee Resource Group, kind of as a side gig. It was just kind of like, oh, let's do this. It should be fun. And it really turned into a passion for me. And at one point, Women in Action, the ERG had 7,000 women in it. And I was leading that ERG and really building the following for that ERG. But having lots of people involved is not the most important thing. It's how you individually help different people. And so throughout that time, and since then, I have really focused on helping a lot of women. Most of the people I tend to help are sales, marketing, and what I call sales adjacent. So that could be things like sales operations or enablement, right? Those are the people who I kind of have the same gravitational pull because we're in what's sometimes called go-to-market functions. But I've helped women from right out of college to women who are aspiring to their first leadership role, women who are in their first leadership role, women who are already directors, women who are VPs. I don't have any SVPs on my slate yet, but I'm working on it.
Okay. So let's start there. Right? You started your own business recently, and you're out, having all of this executive leadership and coaching platform, both for companies as well as for individuals. If someone like my daughter, who's been in sales enablement for a couple of years, she's in a tech company here in the area, she reached out to you, and maybe it's still early in her career. What kind of guidance would you give her to kind of grow that path for her?
I think the most important thing in planning for your career is actually planning for your career.
Okay.
Now, I have never been the person who you can ask me, what do you want to do 5 years from now? I have no idea. But I do have a good sense of the things that I like to do, the values that are important to me in my company and my career, the kinds of functional areas that I want to work in. And so when I do individual executive coaching with leaders and aspiring leaders, it's really all about that, figuring out what that plan is there for their career. Some people, like my daughter, she knows she wants to be a lawyer. She's wanted to be a lawyer since she was 10 years old. Not everybody has that vision. I have never had that vision. But again, that doesn't mean that I can't make a plan that's aligned with the things that are important to me, which then becomes a North Star. And so for young women like your daughter and my daughter, and actually directors and VPs and SVPs, it's all the same. How do you identify the things that are important to you that need to be part of that career plan and get some clarity there? A lot of people don't have clarity, myself included, some ways, some steps along the way. But when you have that clarity, at least some kind of North Star to look forward to, it really helps people align to their purpose.
Rock Solid is produced and recorded at Round Rock Studio. Located right here in Round Rock, our state-of-the-art studio is built for podcasters and creatives alike. We offer multiple professionally designed podcast sets, top-notch recording gear, and a full photography studio ready for any project. Whether you're launching a new podcast or upgrading your existing one, we can help with multi-camera recording, editing, and everything you need for success. Record with us at Round Rock Studio, your local podcasting partner.
I preach finding the North Star. It's what brought me to Austin originally. A lot of people don't know this, but my mentor had the Wizard Academy down south, and way before Harry Potter, he had the Wizard Academy. And the building actually is structured. There's a little plaque on the ground where if you look up, you can see the hilt of a sword, and right above it is always the North Star. And I always remind business owners, it's like, if you navigate according to your North Star, you can weather any storm because there's going to be storms. Like that's just the nature of business. But let's go back into this executive coaching because that's on the individual side. What about on the corporate side? Because I'm sure, again, right, there's lots of tech around here.
There is.
Lots of hustle culture in these tech startups. How do you help them engage women so that they have a more obviously balanced approach to engaging with the market?
Right. A lot of it is just helping people understand the value of diverse teams. And I know diversity is kind of like a word that's gotten a little bit of like, bad juju over the last couple of years, but diversity can mean lots of things. And I think the most important thing that diversity means is diversity of thinking. Women look at things differently than men.
Yep.
And women from different backgrounds and men from different backgrounds. Actually, we all have a background that dictates how we see things in the future. And when you have teams that have both strong men and strong women, you actually build strength in those teams. Now, a lot of times women are, they shy away from some of these kind of more tech startup because of the fact that, like we talked about, that there's a lot of men in those areas. But what I see is that when these teams do have that diversity of thinking, again, women and men on the teams, they actually can deliver better results. There's a lot of studies that actually prove this, that are really, again, are about that diversity of thinking and bringing different perspectives.
Yeah, there's no question about it. I mean, even if you look at infants and the way they treat their toys and stuff like that, or when they get upset, the difference between how a girl acts versus a boy. It's partially genetic, but it is also our upbringing.
It is.
And when you can bring that level of balance to an organization, I mean, I've often seen a lot of organizations that are women CEOs tend to get a lot more things done, to have a lot less conflict in the organization
it's
too.
Just a very different approach, right? And that's why it's important to have. It's important for leadership teams, for really any team that wants to thrive, to have that balance. And I think sometimes with these tech companies or tech startups, not only are they just don't have that experience and that knowledge, but they also don't know how to go about bringing women onto their teams, and more importantly, maybe how to keep women on their teams. And that can be a real challenge. What I focus on when I work with corporate entities of any kind is really thinking about. I actually have a framework called Align.
Okay.
And it's an acronym, of course. Everything in tech's an acronym.
Yep.
But the point of the acronym is to help teams align. And a lot of alignment comes from building that diversity of thinking, but also building a focus which is the alignment portion of it. So when you bring those two things together, very powerful.
So I know that part of this alignment and launching this new business is around creating events so that you can impact more women than just one or working with a
Right.
company. Tell us a little bit about some of the events that you're working on currently and some of the events that you're planning in the future.
Mm-hmm. So I actually am part of a group of women called the Impact Alliance. We are all Central Texas-based, Round Rock, Cedar Park, Pflugerville, very involved in the community. And we actually have an event called the Power of 100 Women of Impact. And this particular event is a day-long event of personal and professional development. It's really important for women to put the two of them together. Like, I can't speak for men because I'm not one, but I can tell you that for most women, there's a blurry line between what personal and professional development look like. And so the best women's events I've ever been to allow that line to be blurred and focus on both. And so we have a great day planned. The other women who are part of the Impact Alliance and I are going to talk about how to be women of impact. We're going to be talking to some women who are emerging leaders. And with them, they're not quote unquote leaders in that they have direct reports, but with them, it's more about leadership as an attitude and an approach and how you develop leadership from any role. And we'll even be talking about women's hormones and women's nutrition, which are really important things, right? Again, these personal and professional lines run together. And I think one of the most important things of the day will be we have structured networking opportunities. I don't know about you, but I go to networking events and you're like, oh, just go talk to people. No, it doesn't work. Help me talk to people. And so we're going to be doing that at the event as well.
Yeah, no, I've spoken to my wife about it. And it's something that I've been working with somebody who's working on a new book about this concept of, you can't lead unless you can show up authentically. And especially for women, that like you said, that personal and business line, they're not turning off the switch. It's who they are. And if they can't show up authentically, also because if their health has issues, if the hormonal, are causing issues, if their diet is causing issues, it's going to impact them.
It does.
And so I'm glad to hear that you actually have an event that's planned around that. I know one of my friends is going to be speaking there, Kimberly Flores.
Yes, exactly.
Who's magnificent.
Yep.
What about some of the other events that you have planned for the future?
Yeah, so this is our first big event for Impact Alliance. We did a workshop a few weeks ago called Mastering Your Next Move, which was really career transition focused. Unfortunately, a lot of people have been laid off in tech. But this is really our first big one. We also have an ongoing coffee series where we actually bring women together, mostly women entrepreneurs.
Okay.
Entrepreneurial life can be lonely. And so women tend to do better when they have other women to support them. And then we'll be looking at other events through the year that are focused on different things that our businesses focus on. For me, it's helping women emerge as leaders, whether they are already in that leadership position or whether they want to lead from wherever they are. For one of the other women, it's really community impact and focus on nonprofits. One of the other women is a wellness coach. And so we'll be tying into the strengths of each of us as we develop more events throughout the year.
That sounds, no pun intended, quite impactful.
Thank you.
Let's talk a little bit about entrepreneurism in Round Rock, because obviously, you just started your own business. You're working with several women entrepreneur. What makes this community such an easy community, relatively, right, to start a business in for a woman?
Yeah, I think Round Rock is a very welcoming community. As I have expanded my, entrepreneurial footprint after, 25 years in a corporate world, the amount of people who are willing to talk to me and help me and support me is absolutely incredible. And that could apply to things like the chamber, right, or some of the other small business resources that are centered here in Round Rock. It can apply to people like you, who you and I had just a great phone call the other day where we mentored. It applies to people like my friend Issy Otesi, who is a small business coach. Yeah, she's fantastic. To me, who is a leadership coach, I help a lot of people. Now, I don't know as much about entrepreneurship yet, but the point is, Round Rock is that kind of community where people really do genuinely seem to want to help each other. And I have found that support to be incredible. As I said, entrepreneurship can be lonely. And you have to reach out and build that network. You don't have to go it alone. And figuring out how to not go it alone has been a lot easier here in Round Rock than some of the other folks I've talked to that I know from other tech roles who've made similar decisions in New York or Bay Area or Washington, D.C. It's just very different here.
Let's wind back a little bit. Family time. What's some of the favorite things about Round Rock? Some of the favorite places, some of the favorite maybe restaurants you'd like to go to?
Yeah.
That you can't go without now that you've been here so long.
We love Santiago's. I don't know if
Mhm.
you know Santiago's. There's one on
Absolutely.
620, one by the Outlet Mall. We love Santiago's. Um, we are so happy that there's both a Torchy's and a Velvet Taco right across the street from each other. I guess it's like a Mexican theme here for me, right?
Yeah.
Actually, one of our family favorites is Poke House,
Okay.
which is, I don't know if you know Poke House,
Mhm.
but we love Poke. These are all kind of to-go restaurants because I have a lot of boys. I have actually 4 children, 3 of whom are boys, and sitting in a restaurant with them is not always that fun. But, we love takeout. But actually, from a family perspective, I would say one of the best parts of Round Rock for us is just the amount of parks.
Mhm.
I'm a runner. I'm actually training for my 11th half marathon
Congratulations.
in Austin in a couple weeks with my daughter. And the amount of running trails that we have been able to enjoy here in Round Rock, and like my husband and I will go run, my daughter and I will go run, the boys will go on their bikes. There's just a lot of places that you can be outside if that's your choice.
Yeah, it's one of the things coming from New York, right? The crazy town of hustle and bustle. This area seems to thrive on that work-life balance.
Mhm.
And I think that's a big part of leadership as well, right? Leaders recognizing that people need that time off, they need that time to be outdoors, to get good food and all of that. You've been here since before this was a big community, because now it's a really thriving community. Where have you seen that kind of mentality come from?
That kind of
That balanced,
that balance mentality. I just think that leadership in general has changed that perspective over a number of years. I remember when I first worked at Dell, literally we worked what we called bell to bell.
Mhm.
And it was, we worked 6 days a week and we were working from 7 or 8 in the morning till 11 at night. And it was the norm, right? Even when my daughter was born, she's 22, like the expectation of being in the office 8 to 5 and someone was kind of coming around and being like, are you at your desk? Are you at your desk? Tech has changed, even though there's a lot of return to office.
Mhm.
Tech has changed, and I think that in this community, there's a lot, whether it's Dell or other companies, there's a lot that's driven by tech. And tech has realized over time that employees have to be creative and innovative, and they have to be committed, and they can't do that if they don't actually have that work-life balance and that ability to, take care of themselves as a whole person, not just as an employee, not just as a leader, not just as a person outside of work, which, coming full circle to a previous conversation, right? We talked about women blurring that line between personal and professional. This line is super important. I don't care what age your children are. They always want something or need something, as the case may be. And the ability to live in a community that supports that and work for companies that allow that to happen is really powerful.
Now, I know, like I said, you're a recent entrepreneur, but if you had to share advice with another founder just getting started, or somebody moving into the first leadership role, after all of these years of working with people, what's like the core tenet of what you believe that they need to take away to advance themselves and be successful?
To me, it all comes down to people. And that is a statement that applies, again, whether you're an entrepreneur or a leader.
Yep.
And my early career was actually with Marriott. And Bill Marriott had a philosophy that if you take care of your people, they will take care of your customers and the rest will follow. And I think that's so important. Now, if you're leading a team or, whatever level of leadership you are, really connecting with your people, understanding their value, knowing what they're good at, and really helping them see that North Star that we were talking about how what their work does aligns into the vision is super important. And that's something I really try to work with companies. But I think that actually applies with entrepreneurs as well. And I mentioned how many people I've found who help me.
Yeah.
Right? Focusing on people and the people who can help me and are willing to help me, or I can help, has really allowed me to apply that same fundamental concept of leadership, people first, people focused, to my business. Again, it's amazing how many people who've been willing to give me some advice, listen to me, support me, help pick me up when I'm kind of like, oh, can I really do this? Help me clarify my message. Help me just talk through different situations. And again, those connecting with people, building relationships, anchoring your business on people really applies no matter what kind of leadership role you're in.
I'm going to kind of tie this all together with a red ribbon because obviously you mentioned the role of Marriott and hospitality. We talked a little bit about food and obviously people. And there's a book that I've been highly recommending to everybody. I think it's one of the most impactful books of our time right now. It was even in the show The Bear, if you watch that. Will Guidara's Unreasonable Hospitality. And I think it's a great lesson for anybody in any kind of business, any kind of leadership role to understand what true hospitality is, because everyone understands what service is. Very few people understand that next level of what real unreasonable hospitality is. I don't know if you've had a chance to read that book.
I have not, but now I'm intrigued. I'll have to read it.
It's a great read. Okay, so I'm going to put you on the spot right now. One book recommendation for our audience.
How Women Rise. It's written by Marshall Goldberg and Sally. I'm drawing a blank on her last name, but it is one of the most impactful books about helping women advance. Marshall Goldberg is a very famous coach, and he wrote What Got You Here Won't Get You There. It's a classic leadership book, but he's taken a new focus on that for this How Women Rise. It's actually not a new book, but it's pretty timeless for women. The other one is there's one, it's called 15 Lies Women Are Told at Work and the Truths That We Need to Hear. And that book is really eye-opening for women. And by the way, these are great reads for men too, because back to our conversation around diversity of thinking in teams.
Yeah.
When all humans understand each other better, we work together better. And these are great books that anybody can read to really understand how to help women, how to support women, and how to really help women thrive in the workplace.
Thank you so much. If people want to connect with you and learn more about what you're doing and see how you can potentially help them connect better with the people around them, how do they find you?
Absolutely. So first of all, LinkedIn. I have a very active LinkedIn presence for my business. My brand new website, leasaneaves.com, is actually launching. I'm in the final phases of reviewing the website right now, awesome. So it should be ready just in the next couple of weeks.
Terrific. Thank you so much for your time today.
Thank you.